What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode here of the Desai Guys Football Forum. I am one of your co-hosts, Armin Desai, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of the Desai Guys, Mr. Tad Desai. And Tad, we already broke down Saturday's divisional playoff action. Now we are going to dive into Sunday's slate of divisional playoff action. We got some great games on tap for us. Let's not waste any time here. Let's sort of jump into that first game. We got Cincinnati was last week.
You're doing Saturday. It's funny because I actually feel totally confident in my picks for Saturday's games. Today's episode, I am far less confident in my picks. I have no idea what's going to happen in these games.
Yeah, these are going to be very interesting. So, excuse me, we actually have the Los Angeles Rams, the number 4 seed, traveling to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the number 2 seed. That game is happening at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time on NBC and on Peacock. In case you're not near TV, you can still stream it on the Peacock.
Still the worst streaming name ever. It's awful. I will keep saying it, NBC. I will keep degrading your streaming name until you change it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Feathers is a better name than that. Just come up with something better than Peacock. Come on.
Well, regardless of the naming of the streaming service, we should be in tap for a pretty good game. We should be in tap for a pretty good game. So I mentioned this before in our previous video. This is one of 3 matchups where the teams have played during the regular season. The only game that did not have a regular season rematch is the Cincinnati and Titans game. So the Rams and the Buccaneers played all the way back in week 3. So I know it was a long time ago, but the Rams came out on top in that game. You know, they won that game 34-24. It was an absolute shootout type of game. No run game whatsoever on either side of the sidelines there. They combined for 775 passing yards and 5 passing touchdowns with 0 interceptions. It also sort of plays into the fact that, you know, both of these teams finished the regular season bottom 10 in rushing attempts and rushing yards. So most likely we're going to see very similar type of game in this game as well. But I will add in that Rams towards the end of the season, they started to involve Sonny Michel a little bit more. Obviously, they got Cam Akers back. He was pretty prevalent in that Cardinals game. I know the Buccaneers are suffering a lot of injuries in their backfield. So we'll see if they involve the running game, but maybe they're just going to stick to passing the ball with Tom Brady, you know, and just obviously just continue with the air attack as opposed to using the rushing game. We'll see who's healthy come game time. But here's the big thing that last weekend, we saw both the Buccaneers and the Rams play, and they both looked really good. I mean, I don't think that's a question there, but the only thing that I sort of have a caveat on, which is hopefully why we'll get a better matchup between these 2 teams, is that the teams that they played, I don't know if they offered that much competition against both these teams, because obviously you saw that Eagles-Buccaneers game. I know they're the 7th seed, but maybe you're hoping for a little bit more of a competitive game there, but Tad, this is just how bad the Eagles played in that game. They had 13 offensive drives. They failed to score on their first 10 offensive drives. It was just absolutely a nightmare. Chalk it up to the Eagles playing bad. Chalk it up to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense playing good. I mean, whatever you want to say, but just that can't happen.
It's definitely the former.
That just can't happen in a playoff game on top of it. I know you're the number 7 seed, but the fact that you made the playoffs, you need to show a little bit more effort there. So we'll see what happens with Jalen Hurts and the Eagles as they head into the offseason, what sort of plans they have, but that was not a good showing. And then on the other side, you got the Monday night matchup between the Rams and the Cardinals. Cardinals were already on track for a late season collapse. We already were seeing that, and then they played the Rams, and you thought maybe with the rebound here, the rematch of the NFC West opponents, this is their 3rd time playing. You'd think it'd be a little bit more competitive. They split the season series. Oh, man, the Cardinals just didn't show up. They only put up 11 points on the board. The Rams were just in control of that game the entire time. Like I said, chalk it up to the Rams. They played a really good game, but I also think just the Cardinals just, like I said, I don't know whether it's just playoff jitters or, like I said, just Cliff Kingsbury. His teams just don't know how to finish the season.
That's it right there.
That's the bigger one, I think, for sure.
Cliff Kingsbury, shocker, bad hire. Who could have possibly seen that coming?
Very similar to the Eagles. We'll see what they have in store for the offseason, because I think for the Cardinals specifically, it's a very crucial offseason with these sort of 3-state seasons where the Cardinals collapse at the end of the season. We'll see what sort of things they plan in the offseason. But obviously, when we want to talk Rams, Buccaneers, like I said, I'm anticipating this to be a shootout type of game. Lots of passing yards from both teams. Here's the big one, though. Andrew Whitworth, starting offensive lineman for the Rams. He is projected to be, he was questionable throughout all of practice, very limited participant. There's a possibility that he's not going to play. If he doesn't play, that's going to be a big factor because, you know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, they have a lot of good frontline defense that can get after the passing, get after Matthew Stafford, And we saw towards the end of the season, Stafford started to struggle. He did rebound in that playoff game against the Cardinals, but that's just one game. Let's see if he can continue that into the next game here. A little bit of a tougher competition here with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll see about that, but just... yeah, Andrew Whitworth not playing could be a huge factor, but you also have to throw it to the other side. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they have injuries on their offensive line as well. Ryan Jensen, their starting center, is dealing with some injuries. He's going to be a limited participant throughout all of practice. We'll see if he's able to go. And their star tackle, Tristan Wirfs, is also dealing with ankle injury. We'll see if he'll be able to suit up. But if they're missing two pieces, you got, Aaron Donald coming after you. Von Miller's totally picked it up towards the end of the season. That Rams got some good passers as well, so that could be a long day for that Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line. But here's the one thing for the Buccaneers that they have going for them. Tom Brady. And not just Tom Brady. Here's the big thing. And Tad, maybe you can help me out with this one, but playoff Tom Brady is like, such a different version of Tom Brady. And I could only think of basketball references when it comes to this, where it's like, for the Warriors, there was headband Klay Thompson for a little bit. Like, he was just a superhuman type of player. But the big one here that I think you might remember was just like, I can't believe how good he was. Masked LeBron James when he was with the Miami Heat.
I agree with that. Are we talking like the blackout mask or the clear mask?
The blackout one was just, godly.
The blackout mask was terrifying. Anytime you wore that blackout mask, I'm like,
he could have defeated the entire five of the opposing defense on his own. That's how dangerous he was.
When you play 2K and you play like the all-time great teams where it's like all the best Lakers starting five, blackout mask LeBron could have beaten all of them.
Oh,
like,
100%.
Terrifying.
100%. So it's like, that's just the same thing. It's like, you got these players that are so amazing on their own, then all of a sudden they have this different iteration, which is just a superhuman version of themselves. You got another one?
Visor Ray Lewis.
Visor Ray Lewis was pretty badass. Yep. That's a very good one as well. So yeah, it was hard for me to think of the NFL ones, but the most applicable one here, playoff Tom Brady. He just plays at such a different level that the Rams are definitely going to
flowing hair Troy Polamalu.
Well, he always had the flowing hair, so I mean,
I rest my case.
But yeah, I think the analogy stands here that just playoff Tom Brady is just such a different player than regular Tom Brady. That is just like insane to think that the Rams, they have to deal with this. They need to bring their A-level type of game in order to win this game. And I expect it to be competitive, but just for me, like I said, I think just playoff Tom Brady is just on a different level. I think these Buccaneers team is rolling. I think they have a good shot to just continue going on. They'll get to the title game again. So yeah, unfortunately, as much as I would love to see it upset, especially here working for LAFB Network, I'm sorry guys, but I'm picking the Buccaneers in this one. I got them winning this game 36-27, and it should be pretty competitive, but just, I think the Bucs will pull it away at the end and move on to the title game.
So here's the interesting thing with this matchup is, like you mentioned before, this is a rematch. So the Rams have actually beaten the Buccaneers twice in the past 2 years. So
that's absolutely true. Both times that Sean McVay has played Tom Brady's Buccaneers, not just the Buccaneers.
Yeah, that's the important thing.
That's the big one. Yeah. Tom Brady's Buccaneers, he is 2-0. So that is absolutely correct.
Yeah. So, and here's the reason why. Is because McVay's offense, while they do value the run, they don't totally abandon it. It's entirely based around the pass offense, right? So here's an interesting statistic for you. Try saying that 5 times fast. The Buccaneers, guess where they rank in terms of rushing yards allowed per game this season?
If I remember correctly, they were number 1. Number 3, okay.
How about if you guys are Inglorious Bastards fans? Yes, I do the German 3, not this 3, so I won't get shot in a German bar in the basement. But that was a shout out for our movie fans out there. But so they're third in rushing yards allowed per game. Guess where they are in passing yards allowed per game?
I know it's a lot lower. I think they're middle of the pack. I want to say like something like 17, 18, somewhere around there.
Oh, so close. 18. So you got it on the second try. Yeah, you got it on the second try.
That's somewhere around there. Yeah.
So that's the whole thing is like it entirely depends on just how they show up and how their pass defense is going to go. Because run defense, I'm not taking anything away from the Rams, but their run offense is fine, not great. It can be good sometimes. Basically, I think that's going to be a non-factor. I think the big X factor is going to be Matt Stafford. Like you said, he has been hugely inconsistent. Yeah. Take it from a fantasy manager of his. I was convinced that I was like, he's going to cost me the championship. I'm not going to get like my fantasy.
He did cost me a championship. So.
I won it despite him. Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. You lost because of him. I won despite him. So that's the whole thing. Is Matt Stafford can get back to his old self, because you guys got to remember week 4 through 6 this season, we were talking about him as a potential MVP candidate.
Absolutely true.
So if he can return back to that form, I absolutely have the Rams, taking this. But it's just it's kind of tough. And here's why, though. I'm going to disagree with you. A little bit of a spoiler alert here.
Okay.
I have the Rams winning this one because here's why. The key to being Tom Brady is pressuring him up the middle.
Right.
Right? Who do the Rams have at defensive tackle?
Number 99, Aaron Donald.
Best defensive tackle in the game, arguably best defensive tackle in the history of the game.
Possibly I don't think best defensive player. He's in that conversation too.
That's that big of a hot take. So, but this is why that trade for Von Miller becomes so much more valuable. Because if Aaron Donald doesn't get to him, that's fine. Tom Brady rolls out, then Von Miller's right there to greet him. So I really do think that Rams defensive line can give Tom Brady a ton of trouble. So it's important to note the Rams are finished third in the league in sacks. They were just one away from tying for second, I should say. And then going back to last round, I understand what you're saying about the Buccaneers killed the Eagles, the Rams killed the Cardinals. I think the Rams victory is more impressive because the Eagles suck. They shouldn't have been in the playoffs. We talked about this last episode. This expanded playoffs thing has kind of been a dud so far. So Eagles should not have been in the playoffs. Cardinals absolutely should have. I know with the late, season slide, that was concerning, but that is still a talented squad that the Rams absolutely shut down. So I am more confident in the Rams now than I am in the Buccaneers. And I'm going to do the thing. I'm finally doubting Tom Brady. The Buccaneers are beat up. I believe Tristan Wirfs is officially out for this game. Am I correct there?
That one I'm not 100% sure on, but yeah, it could be trending towards that direction.
Ryan Jensen, it's not looking good. Wirfs is, yeah. So with that offensive line, again, because that is the key to this game, is that Rams defensive line versus that Buccaneers offensive line. And this is a bad time for that Bucs O-line to be banged up. So I think it'll be close, exactly like what you said, but I'm actually taking the Rams here. Final score prediction, LA 31, Tampa Bay 27.
Okay. And just
how about this for a hot take, by the way? Final play of the game, Tom Brady driving down the field. We're all like, oh, here it comes again. Jalen Ramsey picks him off.
Wow. Okay.
There's your bold prediction.
Could be very interesting. It'd be very interesting.
Oh,
and just
one
thing I
want to. He's going to be so insufferable if that happens.
One thing I kind of just want to close this out with. I completely agree with you with that interior pressure because they brought this up during the Manning cast one episode. I think it was with Phillip Rivers, and Peyton Manning himself said that it's like if a team can get, he always feared that if a team could get interior pressure on him, he hated that more than the outside rushers because that allowed him, that prevented him from stepping up into the pocket to make good passes, and also just affected his long throwing motion as well. So it's like, yeah, same thing here is that if either team could get good interior pressure, especially with the Rams can get it on Tom Brady because he's not a mobile quarterback. Like he can roll out, but if you get that interior pressure on him, you're going to be more chances you'll be able to prevent him from making plays, hopefully get some sacks as well. So I completely agree on that front. If the Rams can win up the middle, they have a very, very good shot of coming away with a victory there. So,
and once again, they have Aaron Donald. They're going to be able to pressure on the middle.
Well, they end up like triple teaming him. It's like, he's such an amazing guy, but it's like triple team is hard to get by.
That's where Von Miller comes in handy because now you have freaking Von Miller on this side. It's just like, that's why I get that some people didn't like that the Rams are continuing to give up all this draft stock, but I actually liked it. Screw it. If you're going to go all in, go all in. I don't care if you draft like one player in the 6th round next year. Like that works because this is the type of moves that helps because you're exactly right. Triple team Aaron Donald. Good luck with Von Miller on the side then. Like this is the type of moves that creates the mismatches.
Very true. Very true.
I'm trying to suck up to our LAFB fans. It's just I've doubted them enough times. I need to earn some credit back.
There you go. There you go. So we'll see how that game goes. But yeah, hopefully we should be in tune with a good game, at least a competitive game from both teams there. Let's move into the later game on the Sunday slate. We got the number 3 Buffalo Bills visiting the number 2 seed Kansas City Chiefs. That game is happening at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, and that is going to be streaming on that'll be on air on CBS and then streaming on Paramount Plus. In case you're not near TV, you can stream it on Paramount Plus. So
yeah, I'm sure if you don't have a TV, you're definitely gonna have Paramount Plus.
You never know. You never know. So yeah, I think I don't know if I brought this up earlier in this episode, but if you like offense, I think this slate of games is definitely in your wheelhouse, because I think the first game between the Rams and Buccaneers should be very highly offensive, got lots of passing on both sides, and this game as well, because we know what the Bills did against the Patriots. They set a record with, the record was 6 straight scoring drives with 6 straight offensive drives with a touchdown. They tied that with 6. They beat it with 7, and then they put the cherry on top of the sundae with 8. So they had 9 offensive drives, and they scored on 8 of them. The only one that they didn't score was the end of the game where they just kneeled it out. So it's just, they were like the epitome of on fire. Like, they were just doing anything and everything that they wanted, and especially coming against the Patriots, that was very surprising, because both me and you, Tad, we both picked that game to be a lot closer, competitive.
I had it 17-10.
I had it at 2017, and I was like, possibly the Patriots could still upset here, but, I don't know what it was. Just the defense just wasn't ready. Obviously, they have the rookie Mac Jones. Like, maybe that was a factor as well. Buffalo Bills defense is top 5 unit, so that affected things. But just, yeah, Bills will absolutely rolling. And then, of course, you got the Chiefs that played the number 7 seed Steelers. They didn't show up all that well. We got a little bit of
just get rid of the expanded playoffs. We tried it. It clearly is not working. Like, just do it. And here's the annoying thing is, they're going to try it for the next couple of years, and then we're going to have another, like, Eagles, Nick Foles, like, team that's going to win it, and they're going to go, see? Those 20 horrible playoff games were worth it. And you're just like, all right.
It's true. So yeah, the Chiefs absolutely took the Steelers behind the woodshed, gave them a big whooping there. So this is a pretty good game between both teams. We got the Bills and the Chiefs. This is a rematch of the AFC title game from last season. So we got very competitive teams here. Here's the thing that's going to be very interesting, because this is another rematch, as mentioned, from earlier in the season. They played back in week 5. Bills were able to come up with the victory in that game. But the big thing was that the Chiefs were still struggling at that point. I think they're still playing their same style of offense, going for those big home run plays to Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, all those guys. And the Bills were able to capitalize on that, because obviously we saw what the Buccaneers were able to do in the Super Bowl. We keep bringing this up, but that's sort of the blueprint to beat that Chiefs team. It's like, you get pressure on Mahomes, you stop the deep threat of passing attack or rushing attack possibly, and you're able to beat this team. And so that's what the Bills were able to do. They forced 4 turnovers in that game. They got 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles, and especially one of those interceptions was returned for a touchdown. So I'm not saying that the same thing is going to happen, because once, we saw the Chiefs struggle early in the season, but they were able to sort of adjust, and they realized that, hey, we don't need to be as aggressive. We don't need to go for these deep shots to Tyreek Hill, these deep plays to Travis Kelce, Byron Pringle, Demarcus Robinson, throw in a name. We don't need these chunk plays to move our team down the field. They started using the run game a little bit more. They started to be a little bit passive, or, I wouldn't say passive, but just not as aggressive, taking the short passes, moving the field down in smaller chunks as opposed to the huge ones. And so that's how they were able to get back on their win streak. And so they're sort of a dangerous team now, because they don't need to have these home run plays every single time to win games now. They can beat you in other ways now too. And so it's like, now if you're compensating for the short passes, they'll go deep on you.
If there's one thing the Chiefs need, is to adjust to become even better.
Exactly. So that's going to be a huge factor. But here's the one thing I will say to counteract that argument that the Chiefs have a stronger chance, is that I don't think the Chiefs have played a team this season, that includes the game obviously against the Steelers, where they had to face a top 5 unit on the offensive side of the ball, as well as a top 5 unit on the defensive side of the ball. I think during the season, they faced units that had either one or the other, but the Bills ranked top 5 in offense as well as defense. So I think that's going to be a little bit tougher for the Chiefs to have to worry about, because maybe on offense they can score points, but then if the defense can't prevent Buffalo from scoring points, we already saw it against the Patriots. The Buffalo Bills can keep up in a track meet style of game. We are seeing Josh Allen play more like MVP Josh Allen that we saw last season, where a lot of people were predicting him to possibly win the award. Like, we're starting to see that Josh Allen again. Obviously, they started running the ball again too. Devin Singletary has become a crucial factor for that offense down the stretch here these last couple of games. So he's becoming more of a focal point of that offense. The return of Dawson Knox, that's been huge because he scored twice in that game.
He had, holy crap! I love that call. Just like, and he's throwing it away. Oh no, that's catch, and you're just like, okay, like, all right, that works.
And that could have been a factor as to why the Bills had a little bit of a slide, because Dawson Knox was hurt during the regular season. Honestly, I think he's a big safety net for Josh Allen.
I was just about to say, we always say it on this show, is there's nothing quarterback loves more than the safety blanket of a good big tight end.
Exactly.
Also, real quick. So I was kind of doubting what you were saying about, top 5 on opposite ends. You're pretty right. I'm looking at their the Chiefs schedule right now. Closest they have are the Ravens, but you got to remember, they just, in a surprising move, they just fired their defensive coordinator. So you could argue that defense maybe iffy. I don't know. But so it's the closest to top 5 on both ends is the Ravens. And then maybe the Packers. I guess you could argue the Packers defense might be top 5. I don't know. But even if you do argue the Packers top 5, they beat the Packers. So there you go.
Yeah. So it's going to be a tough game for the Chiefs to win. Obviously, it's going to be a tough game for the Bills to win, too. I think it's going to be a very competitive game. Like I said, very highly, lots of offense, lots of scoring, through the air, possibly on the ground as well. And you also have to side with Vegas on this one, too, because at the latest check, the spread right now is minus 1.5. The favorites are the Chiefs. And it's like, if Vegas is sort of setting that small of a spread, they don't know which way this is going to go.
We talked about this in the betting segment throughout the season. 1.5 spread. Yeah. That's a pick 'em.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's how it's
exactly. This game could go in either direction, but the Bills are coming in hot. The Chiefs are obviously coming off a big win against the Steelers as well, so you're gonna have a good matchup there. I'm not sure which way it's gonna go, but here's my prediction here. I think, like I said, facing a top 5 defensive unit as well is going to hurt the Chiefs a little bit. They may not be able to force some turnovers on the Chiefs because, like I said, the Chiefs were able to adjust on their offense, but I think there's going to be some drives where the Chiefs have to stall, possibly settle for a field goal, where scoring a touchdown could be a factor where it's like it'll come back to haunt them. So I actually got the Bills in this one pulling off the upset, and even that I don't even consider that much of an upset because these two teams are very close to each other. Obviously, it's a 3 versus a number 2 seed here, so I got the Bills winning this one 35-30 over the Chiefs to move on to the AFC title game.
So I'm gonna go against you again. Spoiler alert. I have the Chiefs winning this because the Bills' defense is very talented. Do not get me wrong. But here's what concerns me is if you look at the way they have done this season, they do really, really well against the lower tier offenses, like really well. Like they absolutely own them. But when you go against the higher tiered offenses, ironically, with the exception of the Chiefs, that one game, they don't do so hot. They lost to the Steelers, and I know we've been making fun of Ben Roethlisberger all season, but Najee Harris is still good. Deontay Johnson's still good. Juju Smith-Schuster is still good. Did I do that right? Is it Smith-Schuster or Schuster-Smith?
Juju Smith-Schuster.
Okay, I always mix that up.
I'll throw a caveat with that game, too. They won on a blocked punt, so it's like...
It still counts.
No, I understand, but it's just like I would contribute it all to the offense of the Steelers and the defense of the Steelers.
Okay,
all right, so
fair. And then they also lost the Titans, and I know people are gonna go to the Titans. That was actually back when AJ Brown and Derrick Henry were both healthy, which seems like a decade ago. And the most high-powered offense in the NFL, they lost to the Indianapolis Colts. We have Jonathan Taylor. People, leave me alone.
There you go.
Shut up. I want to hear. I can hear the fan voices now. No. That's a good offense, kind of. So, bottom line is, I think the Bills' defense is not as infallible as some people build it up to be. But again, I understand because now I can hear the Bills fans yelling at me. I understand that is a very talented defense, but Amir, you put it perfectly. Is the Chiefs' offense, for whatever reason, the traditional, the way they've been going about it for the past 2 years has not been working, right?
Yeah.
So they were able to change it around, and now it's working again. So that's the whole point of that was a great point by you, is that I think that despite that defense being so talented, I think that offense is just more talented. So I have major concerns if the Bills can keep up with that offense. Now, I will say this. I'm not counting the Bills out immediately, okay? Like this game could go either way. I'm just saying this is why I think the Chiefs will win. But Here's how the Bills can win. Okay. So they have a defensive line that, and you know what? First off, I'm a man. I'll admit when I'm wrong. Gregory Rousseau, great first round pick. I didn't understand it at the time. I trashed it at the time. But here's the thing: his numbers, like they're good, but they're not great. But just the way he is fit in that rotation is excellent. So the Bills' defensive line is made up of Gregory Rousseau, Ed Oliver, Jerry Hughes, go Frogs, Mario Addison, AJ Empineza.
Yeah, close. Epinesa. Yeah, not bad.
Not bad. We're counting it. There we go. All right. That's my Tony Pollard. Did I do that right?
No, Tony
Damn it.
Pollard.
It's this AJ guy and this Tony guy. They're both just like my ultimate enemies. But anyway, that is such a deep defensive line that you don't need a blitz to pressure Mahomes. And the Bucs showed us, in the Super Bowl last year. I think I shared that stat that, Mahomes ran like 200 yards or something.
More than that. It was close to like 500 if I remember.
Yeah, something like that. Exactly.
It was insane.
So that's how you beat Mahomes, right? So you make him run around, and the Bills can do that without blitzing, right? Which means you can drop those, linebackers in coverage and really cause some troubles there. So that's how the Bills can win this game. I'm just not sure if that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to try over pursue Mahomes a little bit and blitz. And that's how Mahomes beats you. It's like, oh, you want to send your linebacker after me? Great. You just let my guy open like 30 yards down the field. And even if I'm running for my life, I can still hit him. That's what makes Mahomes so great. So I think that's going to happen a little too often. And here's the big thing is that the 4 turnovers with the Bills-Chiefs game earlier this year, I don't see that happening again. Like you kind of mentioned, that was a different Chiefs team. They were still kind of trying to figure out whatever was going on there. I think they're a much more disciplined team now. I cannot see the Bills forcing 4 turnovers again. So I think this is going to be a much closer game than that last one was. And I think Kansas City is and here's the frustrating, this is the story of a Bills fan. I think they're just that much better than the Bills to, overcome them. So I have Kansas City winning this game 24-17 over the Bills, and it hurts. I would love to see the Bills win a Super Bowl, but unfortunately, I don't even think they get to the AFC Championship.
All right, that's fair. I could very much see that happening. Like I said, I don't think the Bills will force 4 turnovers either. I just think there's going to be enough drives where they'll do enough to prevent the Chiefs from moving on.
So.
And it's very possible. It's very possible. This Chiefs team is very hard to stop on offense. So, yeah, it's very possible that they'll just continue rolling.
They have no running back, and they're still the best offense in the league. Like, that's just ridiculous.
It's true. It's very
now
true.
I have LSU fan telling me about Clyde Edwards-Helaire now, too. This is great. I just, the span of 5 minutes, I pissed off 3 different fan bases.
It's your own fault. We should be in tap for 2 really good playoff games, one from the NFC, one for the AFC. And yeah, we definitely, anticipate them being very competitive. Hopefully we don't get any blowouts like we did last weekend. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it should be some good games there. Definitely, we appreciate everybody that tuned into the episode here, as well as the last episode where we dropped our predictions for the Saturday slate of playoff action. Best way you can find out about all of our upcoming episodes and upcoming videos and upcoming podcast episodes is subscribe to the YouTube channel. We got our own playlist on the LAFB Network YouTube channel, so just hit subscribe. You'll always be aware about when the latest videos are dropping, and definitely subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. So we got our podcast episodes that drop usually on the weekends, usually Friday, Saturday, around there. Subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast, whether it's on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can listen right on the LAFB Network website as well, so just hit that subscribe. You're always aware when the next podcast episode is dropping. And yeah, biggest one also, follow us on all of our Twitter handles. You see it at the ticker below. You got my personal handle, Desai23. You got Tad's at Desai94. You got the show handle, Desai Guys. We're continuing our playoff challenge, so drop your predictions for all of these playoff games that are happening. Obviously, the closest to the final score will work out some prize for you guys, obviously, and it will accumulate with the next game.
It's an autographed picture of both of us. It's not. Please participate. That's not the actual prize. I'm kidding.
It'll accumulate with this weekend as well as the following weekend as well as the Super Bowl. So yeah, make sure you drop your predictions every single time. The only way that you can win is if you play the game. So make sure you drop your score predictions on the various Twitter timelines that we have there. Hopefully the show timeline as opposed to the personal ones. But yeah, we really appreciate everybody that's tuning into the videos, who's listening to the podcast, who subscribes to us, who gave us a good rating for the podcast, who interacts with us on Twitter. I mean, just anything and everything, guys. We really just can't thank you enough.
And like Amir said, please participate in that contest. I am super excited to do that. I want to see how smart our fans are because I know you guys are smart. So, hey, show off your smarts. If you think you know better than us, prove it. So be sure to hit that up on Twitter. Also, guys, we have some awesome draft stuff coming up. I'm not going to say anything specific. We're still working out some other, a couple different plans, but we have some awesome draft stuff, ideas coming up for this offseason. And then offseason game shows. Game shows are coming back. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Jeopardy. We're working on that. So we have a lot of exciting stuff coming up with this offseason. So be sure to, like Amir said, subscribe to us on Apple Music or podcast. Excuse me, not Apple Music. I mean, I can't start a singing career, but we'll see. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, and then also follow us on YouTube because I really want to try doing game shows on YouTube. So we're going to see if that can work. No promises, but bottom line, we have a lot of ideas we're going to try out this offseason. So if you want to be with us to see how that goes, definitely do everything Amir just said. And as always, guys, thank you so much for listening.